So I think one of the benefits of going to a small liberal arts Christian university is the relationships that you build. You could probably get a similar education somewhere else, but I think the education is great, but then also the understanding that I created or I learned being a part of the university is all about community and relationships. So I still have a lot of the relationships I created while at the university, like with you, and a lot of our friends have stayed in the community because they saw it as worth investing in and staying connected in. So I think learning what it looks like to have your lives intertwined with other folks who are just trying to live life together, not do anything exceptional, but just living life together and seeing how you can make your community a better place and like the people around you, your network. So, getting to practice that a lot on the university's campus, and then kind of moving into the community itself of Huntington and transferring some of that into everyday life. So a lot of my jobs have been people-centered. They've been in nonprofits, working with people. And so I think seeing how that played out in my job really prepared me for what I do now, which is really walking alongside people as they are, learning what their life looks like this side of incarceration. And then also getting connected with my church community and seeing how walking alongside other folks who are living a lifestyle focused on Christ, I think being able to see how our lives were impacted by each other was really important. And then aside from just the community life portion of living at HU, but actually the education side, some of the professors that I had that really helped prepare me, I think, for really understanding passions that were inside of me that I didn't know about yet. Some classes that focused around empowering women, and some classes that focused around understanding race and racism really helped ignite something inside of me to understand that these were the directions I wanted to go in my career. I didn't know what career I wanted when I went to Huntington University, so I got a pretty general degree in communication studies, but it really did help prepare me for the jobs that I was going to go into. And so it was nice to make some connections, and it's really cool to see how some of those connections have continued. There's a professor I had when I was a student, Carla McDonald, who then became, she's worked on a couple boards for organizations I've worked on, which has been really neat to kind of have that connection with her. And then I've continued to stay connected with Kevin Miller, who's another professor that was really important for me as I was learning some of the things that were going to be passions of mine, and really fed into the degrees that, or the jobs that I would eventually move into. So. I think one thing that I didn't anticipate when, I was 18 going to college was, even though it was a small university, the benefit of being in an environment of learning that is so centered around learning. Really, to not learn and grow, you have to be purposely trying not to. By being in that environment, you by default are around people that think differently than you and view the world in a different way. And I think the benefit of that is I saw the world as bigger than myself. And I think that kind of helped with some desire to want to have an impact on my community and have an impact on my spheres of influence. And so, I think it helped my world become a little bit bigger and kind of understand how small I am, but also how important my actions are, essentially. So I think that's one of the things. And then I think also, I really became an adult at this university because I was a traditionally aged student. And so I think it was really cool to be able to discover what my faith looked like just for myself. I grew up in a household, my parents were Christians, we went to church, but it was all kind of handed to me. And then I'm in a place where I got to decide that for myself, and I got to discover that for myself. And so going through that process with other people that were kind of doing the same thing, then, those are very transformative years for my faith, which now in my community, being a part of a church community, those things have continued and those things have carried with me. So, living on campus especially was really beneficial, and the student life the structure of it and how it poured into, it encouraged students to pour into one another, and the university pouring into students was a neat thing to be a part of. So we've had a couple of students be involved with Place of Grace. One, we had an intern here at the organization, and that was really neat to connect with them. And I think they helped us out in some ways, but for them to get to learn about what was available in Huntington, it's easy to kind of get hyper-focused on the university around you rather than the larger community. So that was neat to see for her. And then currently we have a social work practicum student as a part of our program. We have been so thankful to have her. She's been so helpful and so wonderful, a really good fit for our program. And so, and it's really helped us out financially because she's also helped cover some of the hours in the house. So it's been neat to see her connecting with the women. I think she's really grown and enjoyed it as well. And for the women to have somebody else invest in them is really great. So, and I've stayed connected to the university just by default because a lot of my friends still work there. So still spent some time on campus, and that's been neat. And I got to go on a field trip with my son last year in kindergarten, where all the kindergartners went, and a lot of the students put on activities for them. So it was kind of fun to see from his perspective how he views the university and how he's started to connect with them at such a young age as a kindergartner. So that was really neat. And I think just being involved in the community, there are a lot of groups that I'm a part of or meetings I'm in, and there's oftentimes someone from Huntington University there. So faculty or staff member or student. So yeah, it seems like there is a connection often, whether it's just one person or a small group of people, that happens, in the different circles that I'm a part of in Huntington. So I'm not directly connected to the university at this point in any formal way, but I think, when I think about the community of Huntington as a whole, the university is a part of that. And students, I want them to be connected and be invested in the community at large, because there's hundreds of people that spend a significant portion of their year, for 4 years minimum, in our community, and we want them to feel like they're a part of it, like there are fun things for them to do and ways they can invest, and but also for them to do that, they have to be aware of what's available in our community, and they have to feel safe to be able to do that. And they have to feel safe in church communities and in the businesses they go to and the places they volunteer at. And so, trying to think of my part, I can only do so much, but hoping that in my spheres of influence, in my places I'm involved with, so Place of Grace, my friendships, the places that I give my money to, my church community, I hope that those are all places that we're intentionally thinking about how do we make this a safe place for students to come and be a part of this community. Because, I ultimately stayed in Huntington for so long because I was connected to a church community, whereas that may not have happened had I not had that connection. Sure. And so I would love to see that for other students, because I think Huntington is a place that's worth calling home for longer than just being a college student. And so if I believe that and think that, then it's my role to help students feel that way.
In case you haven't heard, Sharon was a recent recipient of the 2020 Alumna of the Year Award. You can find that video via the Huntington University Facebook page or YouTube page if you're curious to see the presentation of that award to Sharon. So all that to say, HU is super proud of her and the work that she is doing and the commitment that she has made to the city of Huntington. So thank you for tuning in today. We hope that you have enjoyed our time together.